Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What the hell are they? I hear you cry. Well, my friend Polly and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So, if you're ready, here we go.
All right. Good morning. Here we are.
Good morning.
Monday.
How are you?
I'm good. I've just seen I've kind of got crazy hair this morning.
I have too. I literally look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards, but hey.
I mean, honestly, Monday mornings, it's always I'm in my gym kit. I'm kind of like, never looking my best. Anyway, who cares? Not me this morning. So do you want to start, Lucy? Because this was your suggestion a couple of weeks ago, and then we've kind of back to it now.
Yeah, so this morning we are talking about complaining. And I think this is such a juicy topic because, let's face it, we all complain to one extent or another. But I think it's really, really worth just having a look at how much time you are spending or one is spending complaining. It's something that the Stoics talk about a lot, and I can't remember which Stoic says it, but it's do not be heard complaining even to yourself, which is obviously incredibly challenging because I think that part of the problem with complaining is that it becomes a habit. We just get into the habit of it. But the thing about it is that not only does it not really serve any purpose apart from it allows us to vent, which, yes, okay, I guess that is important. But what it actually does is it just continues to reinforce the thing that we don't want. And one thing that I think is really interesting to think about is, do we have any friends where our friendship is based on complaining? Because I think a lot of people do this. They have those friends, maybe it's work colleagues, whoever it is, where actually you bond with each other through moaning and complaining. So, and I have totally done it. We all have, I'm not saying I never do that. But it's really interesting to think about who are those people where actually the tendency is to bond over, oh, well, my work's shit and life is shit and the world is shit and everything's expensive and blah, 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 blah. Because I really do think that when you bring awareness to that, it makes you realize how much you might be doing it. And the thing is, this can be quite confronting to think about this. And it can be quite triggering, I think, because when you recognize that you're doing that in yourself, it can be quite hard to admit that, actually, I do complain way more than I would like to or I should. But this isn't about kind of judgment. This isn't about, taking anyone off, because we all do it, myself included. And I used to be such a moaner. Like, I used to be such a complainer, especially in office jobs. Over the years, that was the real, I think offices are a breeding ground for complaining. And it can end up being that the conversations that you have with your colleagues are largely about moaning and complaining about your boss or about a colleague or whatever it is. So if you work in that kind of environment, I mean, I now work by myself, as you know. But certainly I can think back to offices that I worked in where it was just moaning and complaining, you go into the kitchen and, oh, you have a moan about this and, oh, you have a moan about that. But it's not a good look. And whilst we're all going to complain and have a bit of a vent sometime, and if there's something we need to get off our chest, that's completely fair enough. But I think it's just worth noticing, how much are you doing that? Because ultimately it's not about cutting out complaining altogether. That is virtually impossible. But it's about seeing if we can perhaps lessen the amount that we're complaining. Because, again, all it does is reinforce the things that we don't want. And when it comes to raising our vibration, when it comes to the law of attraction, when it comes to manifestation, complaining and moaning is not fucking high vibe. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the difference is here, what we're talking about is how complaining is when we kind of get stuck in, we're not moving forwards anywhere. We're just sort of ruminating over the thing, and we're kind of going over and over the thing, which is really pissed us off or whatever it is. And I think that's very different from just sort of letting out how you feel. So I think, when if you're pissed off, or if you're struggling, or if you're upset, we need to say that we are, it's good to vent, it's good to let it out and let that steam off. So that's, I think, okay, so that's the difference. That's sort of like an emotional sort of a reaction to something. But I think it turns into complaining when you get stuck in that feeling and you're just going over it and over it again without really seeing any way forwards. And then it becomes kind of a state of being. And it's very easy then to sort of keep going in that feeling. And I think over time, then it can become sort of something that you're just so used to doing, like anything, like any repetition that we do. Our nervous systems love repetition. And because it feels, the more you do something, the more familiar it becomes and the safer that you feel. And so it feels like your natural state of being. So if you then go and try and do something different, that's what feels unfamiliar. So if you're, we've all done it. We've all gonna, and sometimes it can help you. It makes you feel like you're part of a gang. It makes you feel included if you're all having a good old moan and a good old complain about something. It does. You can, it does make that. It's a bit of a bonding thing sometimes, isn't it? But we've got to be careful that if we carry on, then it becomes sort of our natural default rather than the other way. And there are, I mean, I can think of friends who I find myself constantly trying to bring the conversation back to something which is not so complainy or, stuck in that sort of, and at the moment it's a very good example. There's so much going on in the world, and it would be so easy to get so caught up in all the negativity, so easy. And yes, we can feel it, we can know about it, we can state what we feel about it. But it's when you are constantly with someone and the conversation constantly comes back to that negativity, I find it so draining. I find it exhausting. I leave the conversation feeling really shit about everything, and it doesn't serve us. It just doesn't serve us unless you're going to get off your arse and go and do something about it. What's the point in going over and over and over about it again? Because it's not doing any good at all. So yes, I think it's important to remember, though, it's the more you're rehearsing that negativity, the more you're likely to be become that complaining person. And we've all been there. So you've got to catch it. You've got to catch yourself doing it. How does it make you feel when you do it? Because it does make you feel rubbish. It really does.
I will only ever recommend brands that I know, love and use myself. And one of those is Ancient and Brave. Honestly, they've become part of my daily habits. The very first thing I do every morning is pour myself a big glass of water with their True Hydration in it. It feels like such a simple ritual, but it really sets me up for the day. And I know I'm properly rehydrating with their blend of electrolytes and minerals, especially before I exercise, which I always do in the morning. Then later on, when I make my coffee, I stir in their True Collagen powder into the coffee. Now, it blends in straight away, no fuss, there's no taste, and collagen is something we naturally lose as we age, but it's so important for our skin, joints, and overall vitality. Now, I'll be honest, Ancient and Brave may cost a little more than some of the tubs you'll spot on supermarket shelves, but the difference is you're getting the highest quality ingredients, sourced with integrity and tested to a higher standard, and absolutely no nasties added. That's why I trust them and why I think they're worth every penny. And because I want you to be able to try them out for yourself, I've got a special offer for you. As a listener of this podcast, you can get 20% off your very first order, All you need to do is click the link in the show notes and pop in the code POLLYW20 at checkout. They've got more than just collagen and hydration too. They've got creatine, they've got blends, supplements. So it's a perfect chance to explore their range and make the most of that 20% off.
Also, I think one thing that is worth bearing in mind, and I've definitely experienced this, and I'm also sure that I've been the person that's done this, where you try and stop someone from going on and on about whatever it is they're complaining about, and you can see that they get annoyed. They resist it because they want to carry. It's almost like you start to feed off it. And so if someone gently tries to bring you out of that, you can sometimes see the person being really annoyed because actually they just want to carry on complaining. So that is definitely something to be aware of. But, you know, perhaps you can sort of, I mean, I suppose it's just as simple as trying to just change the goddamn subject and say something like, you know, anyway, what are you looking forward to this week? What are you looking forward to in your life? And I think when you do that, sort of people can, you know, perhaps come to their own realization that they are stuck in this sort of loop of complaining. One thing that I just want to say before I forget is that I think one of the things that we all, again, have a tendency to do is, what is this thing in your life that you are complaining about, but you're not fucking doing anything about it? Because this is the other thing. If you are complaining about the same thing over and over again, with me, that used to be my job, or, you know, various jobs that I wasn't happy in. Is there something in your life that you are moaning on about it, and you have been for months or potentially years? If you're not going to do something about it, then you've got to stop complaining about it. Either make a change or stop moaning about it. And actually, I think it's really good to have this conversation, because we almost become completely unaware of when we complain. It becomes such a habit that we actually become, and I do this myself, like I will be complaining and it's like, unless I bring that awareness. But once you do bring that awareness, you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it again. And then what happens is, the more you bring awareness to it, the more you can feel the sort of, you know, the urge to moan about something. You can feel it bubbling up in you, but then you can make a different choice, and you can be intentional about not doing it. And also just think to yourself, if you're really dying to have like a massive, great complaining session, think to yourself, how is this serving me? How is this serving what I want in my life? Because if I'm putting out this negative, moany, complainy energy, that is what I'm bringing back to myself. So what is the cost of me sitting here for the next 2 hours complaining to this friend? What is the cost to myself? Not to mention the friend, because that is the truth. It's like you are not serving yourself by moaning on and on and on. It is bringing you down. It is just, all you're doing is putting more negative energy out into the world and subsequently attracting that back into your life. We've had a couple of comments here, haven't we? I'm just trying to have a look. I'm the recipient of the complaints with a friend, and I'm starting to set boundaries. Oh, that's what we have to do, isn't it? We have to set boundaries. What are some phrases to offer to a friend who is constantly ruminating? That's so hard. I guess it's something like, I guess you have to start by saying something like, you know, I've noticed that. Because it can be incredibly triggering to be confronted with that. So I don't know what the answer is to that, but I think almost need to.
And what I would say to that is, I mean, in terms of if it's with a friend, it's like, you know, great, hear them vent, because I think we all do need to vent. So get it off your chest. But then maybe like, right, you could say something like, right, we've talked about that now. Surely now let's move forward. What can we do to feel better about it? Or, you know, it's like, acknowledge that, yes, I know it feels really hard, or that's really annoying. I really see that, but let's move forward. It's almost like give someone space to vent, but then see how we can actually then switch it. Or just go, right, we've discussed that now. I'm bored of talking about that. Let's talk about something else. I don't know, you know, which is a bit more of a harsh one. But it is about not getting stuck in it. I think, you know, that's the difference. It's like, hear it or do it. And then, right, what can we do now? Okay, it's really annoying. So I'm just thinking about, you know, when I was a teacher, for many years. I mean, the staff room is a great place for complaining. A lot. I mean, I found it really tough actually, because it's tough. You know, these teachers are generally underpaid. They work ridiculous hours. I know they get long holidays, but they really do need those holidays, and it's really tough. And there is an awful lot of complaining that goes on. And I personally would have to limit my time in the staff room so that I didn't get, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in it when everyone's having a good old moan. It is so easy to be part of it. And it used to really bring me down. So I would limit my time in the staff room, or go and hang out with the people who weren't part of that group. But I think you've just got to have an awareness of it. And, you know, if people are making you feel rubbish, that's a massive sign. How do they make you feel?
Yeah. Notice the people in your life who are those energy vampires. Notice the people who are sucking your energy, because those will be the ones probably that are being negative and complaining a lot. And so it's not only noticing in yourself, it's also noticing in the people around you who are the people who are most likely to do that. And how can you kind of either minimize the amount of time you spend with them? Because at the end of the day, we have to protect ourselves. You know, we have to protect our own energy, because this life is a game of energy. And the more, if we're feeling like, you know, sorry to get woo-woo again, but the dominant vibration that we're putting out is the signal that we are sending out to the universe. That is the signal that we're sending out. The dominant vibration, i.e. the way that we feel most of the time. And when I think back to various jobs that I had, where I would say that most of the time I was just feeling a bit, you know what I mean? I just wasn't feeling good. That didn't mean that there weren't happy times or light laughter or fun or the rest of it. But I think my general vibration, my general vibe, my general mood, the way that I felt most of the time was absolutely tipping over into the negative rather than the positive. And it's always our aim to tip the balance so that we're feeling positive a little bit more than we're feeling negative, and not wishing to be toxic positivity or anything like that. Because I know that, I mean, I've had so many people say, oh, toxic positivity, and this is not that. We're not aiming to be happy, fucking, clappy, skippy, yappy, whatever, 24/7. That's not normal. Of course not. But we are aiming to be happy, clappy, yippy, scappy, whatever the hell the word is, like 51% of the time or 55% of the time, compared to 45% of the time when we're not feeling so good. So, you know, maybe like, I think a really good thing to do actually is to just like take today, for example, take just one day and see if you can get through this one day without complaining. And I guarantee you'll find it hard. And that will show you how, oh, fuck, actually, I do complain more than and I'm talking to myself here as well, by the way. You know, let's just see if we can get through 24 hours without complaining. And if you feel like you're about to say something, just stop it. Just stop it and see how you feel at the end of that day. And maybe you'll feel like you want to explode.
You're making me chuckle, because obviously with my knee, this last few months, it's obviously I've had this real will to tell people, particularly my family, to say, oh, it's really bad today, or it's really hurting, and they've had enough of it now. Obviously, they've completely had enough of it. They're all over it. And no one listens to me at all anymore. And it's really what it's done though is it's really brought huge awareness to how often I feel the need to tell someone about it. And actually, it's not serving anybody, because it is what it is, and actually, it's actually fine. But I think that it is an interesting point when you say to yourself, you just raise awareness of the main things that perhaps which are pissing you off, or the things which are just annoying you. Bring attention to those and just see how often you feel the need to mention it. Yeah. Because it is that, for me, it's almost like a bit of validation. It's like you just hear someone say, yes, I know. And you want to you want to be seen, you want to have a little bit of sympathy, or you, whatever it is. And sometimes you do just need to get it off your chest.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, what do you need more than that? Okay, say the thing. But do I need then to continue? If I seriously was complaining all the time about my knee, I mean, it's not serving anybody, and honestly, my family, I mean, they've had enough of it as it is, and I don't think I've been too bad. I don't think I've been too bad, but
I'm sure you haven't.
But I can see how easy it is. So easy. If something's really annoying you and it's consistently annoying you, like that job which you don't enjoy, like the fact that it's really bloody hard at the moment to find a job, etc., then it's not going to, as you say, it's not going to help you, because it's going to lower your vibe, and you're not going to be in a position to make anything positive happen out of it. So it really is finding opportunities to move forwards and to feel good about yourself. And if it can't be feeling good about that thing, find something else in your life which is joyous and which can bring you joy, and switch and focus more on that rather than the thing that really isn't giving you joy. With teaching, I ended up leaving because it wasn't giving me any joy anymore. But that's obviously quite a big move. But I knew it was the right move, because I was in that environment where, yes, I was complaining a lot about it, and about the way, when you've got a lot of big feelings about the way things are run, from up high all the way down, and teaching is a good example of that, maybe through a nurse or a doctor, whatever, how it's all run, right, particularly from the political level, and you don't agree with it. It's really hard not to get so entrenched in that, those feelings of talking about it. But yeah, I mean, what else could I have done other than just settle for things I didn't really agree with, or get out of that and do something different, which is what I ended up doing. So it is tough if you are in an environment where there is an awful lot of things you don't feel right. So I would invite then you to just have a look at that and just go, okay, well, is this the right environment for me? How can I change that? How can I make that better?
Yeah. One thing I thought about, I mean, I love what you just said, but, going back to your knee actually is such a good example, isn't it? But it's worth recognizing how often you feel the urge, because it feels like you just, I just really want to fucking say, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so like, it feels like you're kind of feeding yourself somehow. It just feels so satisfying. And that is, we all recognize that feeling, but just notice how often you feel, like you were saying, how often you feel the need to share that. What are you hoping to get from that? Is it validation? Like, just noticing that. And I think apart from anything else, by purely just thinking about this, it's going to help. It's going to mean that you're going to bring more awareness to it. So you're probably going to complain a little bit less. And again, that is the key. It's not eliminating complaining from your life, from your life altogether, because you're not fucking monk. But maybe, I'm sure monks even complain, but it's just trying to see if you can lessen the amount that you complain just by a little bit. Because also remember that whatever where attention goes, energy flows. Do you want to be giving your precious attention to something that makes you feel like shit? So, for example, are you moaning on about the weather? I mean, this is a classic one, isn't it? Especially for us Brits. I get so embarrassed and annoyed when people go on and on about the weather. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And that's not to say I never do it, but I really do make a point of not banging on about the weather. But it's I've completely forgotten where I was going with this, but yeah, like, do you actually want, is that where you want to be focusing your attention? Like, why do you want to be placing your attention there? Because you are bringing your energy to whatever you are placing your attention on. So again, it's just like, we talked about this before, but can you just shift your attention onto something else? Just shift your awareness. And, fine, if you have to say, the fucking weather, fine, say it. But then don't ruminate on it, because this is part of the problem. It's like, yes, of course, we want to be able to vent, and we should be allowed to vent. But how long are we sitting in that? Like, again, are we sitting with a mate at the table, drinking endless cups of coffee, moaning on about the same thing? It's incredible how long you can pull out complaining about the same thing, isn't it? It's like, it's quite incredible. We have a talent as humans just to like go on and on and on, much like I am now. Over to you.
But it's also good to have those friends. You know, someone asked about, you know, how do you stop someone? But I think it is good to have those friends who say, right, you've said that, you know, to pick you up on it.
Yeah. And even if it triggers the person, that's on them.
Yeah. I pick up on it with my husband if he's talking about certain things, which, you know, I'll say, right, you've said that. I tell me, you know, and it's almost like I don't want him to not tell me what's on his mind or what's annoying him. But it's like, right, if you're not going to do anything about it, can you just stop talking about it or do something about it? That is literally what I will say. And I think we should be able to say that to each other a bit more, because it's not good for us. It's not healthy, and it makes us feel like shit. So
totally.
There you go.
And also, like, if you do have a particular friend who really does complain a lot, if you pull them up on it, their reaction to you being honest with them is on them. It's not your responsibility to manage their reaction if you're being honest with it. Because, you know, and I've definitely been in that situation where someone has pulled me up on something and, oh God, it hurts. But that's on that person to take responsibility for how they decide to react to somebody being honest. And I think part of the problem is that we're so often not honest with people, and we'll sit there and let someone go on and on and on and on about something, and we won't, because we're like, oh, you know, it's that people pleasing thing.
And then we'll probably go home and have a complaint about them going on.
Exactly. Oh my God, human beings are mental.
Oh my goodness, I know. Anyway, I hope that's been of some help. I think sometimes it's just good for us all just to bring these things to the surface, just to highlight them, so that we all have a little bit more awareness about these patterns that we potentially can all get stuck in.
Exactly. Well, it's 8:59. I know we started a bit late, but I think we're DONE done. What do you reckon?
I think we are. Amazing. Yeah, done. Perfect.
All right, babe. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.